This is Real Empowerment. I'm Rebecca Michael.
I am the artist formerly known as Daniel Radcliffe.
No association to Harry Potter.
No association. Well, maybe if I check my ancestry.
And we are here because we brought two of our guests back that we had quite the interesting conversation last time. And we have been talking about, let's do another one. And so now we're going to do another one.
Another one.
Yes. So this is Love is Love. And then
Part 2. Love is still love.
Yes, it is.
Love is always love.
That's the name of it. Love is still love.
So we had Chris and Elle come and talk to us about pride and intersections last time.
Yes.
And man, what a good conversation that we had. And in that conversation, we didn't really dig into really personal stories, like where you guys, how you formed your beliefs and how you came into your own and how you identified and stuff like that. Maybe we can dig into that a little bit later. But we talked about, some of the what the letters of LGBTQ plus on and on and on and on and on represent. So we're going to dig into that a little bit more. We also talked about pride and the Stonewall. I'm saying that right. Stonewall riots.
Right.
And then how the black and brown trans women really started this process and really said, enough is enough.
They turned up.
Yes, they did. Yeah. They showed up. They made things happen.
Yeah. And we need to acknowledge and honor that.
Yes, exactly.
Respect. Thank you, guys.
Yes. And we talked about our support group that we started. And when you hear this, it'll be late January. So that means that we have had a number of months with our support group going. And so, we had a really good conversation about what started Pride and then kind of, what happened in your own lives. And, we actually also talked about not being really seen in how you identify within your own community. And we didn't really dig into a lot of about what that looks like and how within a marginalized group can be sub-marginalized groups and how really damaging that can be to someone if you're not fully accepted within your group, within, the community that you feel you need to be a part of because you identify. So I guess that really, we want to ask you what you guys want to talk about because I have all these other questions, and so do you.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
I know everything there is to know about LGBTQ.
Sure you do.
Plus.
Yeah,
plus.
No, you don't.
I don't.
Yeah,
we don't even know.
I truly have
everything
no
there is to know.
idea. I don't even know everything there is to know about being black. So.
You're black.
And we don't even know everything there is to be known about being queer.
Yeah, exactly.
So
but
there's always questions.
I don't live within this community. Do you?
Oh, I do.
Do you?
Yeah, I do. So I learned through our last podcast that I am an A out of the letters, and I am an ally.
Nice.
That I am supportive of people's choice, or their access to choice, and I support that.
Nice.
So I'm an A.
So you're an A.
Yeah, and it doesn't stand for what you think. Because I knew you were going to go there.
What? You don't know what I was thinking.
It's a 3-letter word.
I was thinking more of a 7-letter word, but whatever.
Antisocial? That's not a 7-letter word.
That wasn't the word.
Oh, okay. All right.
All right, you guys tell us, and then we'll ask questions from there. So, do you guys want to go through the whole list of what those letters stand for?
You go and tell me what you think. I'll tell you. So, something you need to know. Elle is not. Are you old enough to be my daughter? I'm 56.
Oh,
You're 56?
It depends on
when you would have
how you
had a
define
child.
parented.
Yeah. In my neighborhood, definitely.
Yeah, mine too.
So there is a generation gap.
Yeah.
And there's something that people of Elle's age it's beautiful about people of Elle's age. It's not secretive. It's just out.
Yeah.
And when I was young, when I was Elle's age or younger, it was still a little bit secret.
Right.
We had our own little thing. And so we were just GLBT.
Okay.
And the transgender people just weren't
They
at
weren't
all
recognized.
Trans was very oppressed.
Really
even
was.
within the gay community.
And we had drag queens, but drag queens are not transgender people, or not trans people. Some are, but they're not necessarily.
What's the difference?
So drag is you're putting on something for a show.
Okay.
And trans is your gender. So to define what trans is that a baby's born, right? And doctors look at a baby's genitals and they say, oh, this is a boy or a girl. And they assign gender at birth.
Okay.
And then a trans person is someone who does not identify with the gender that they are assigned at birth.
Okay.
Gotcha. Okay.
Just had to do that real quick.
Yeah.
Let's get this straight in our heads
Yeah.
really quick.
So letters.
So a long time ago it was GLBT, gay, lesbian, bisexual, and trans.
Okay.
Transgendered.
Okay.
Transgender, not gendered.
Okay.
You're not gayed or lesbian. You're
past tense.
gay, lesbian,
Yeah,
and transgender. So the reason the LG got swapped was early on when AIDS became a big issue, the lesbian population came and helped the gay population, in New Orleans anyway.
Interesting.
And they took them to the doctor. They took them grocery shopping. They washed them.
So they showed up for
They
these
showed
people.
up in the beginning of this crisis. And so we decided to put the Elle first. That's what happened in New Orleans. I don't know how it
That's
happened in
really
other parts of the
cool.
country.
Awesome.
But there was just not an announcement, but it just sort of started.
It's like an acknowledgement of camaraderie.
It
Support
was.
within the community.
Yeah.
An honorific.
In New Orleans, they didn't have separation between lesbian and gay. They still don't. But like here in Denver, there was a gay bar that did not let women in at all. And
Okay.
I didn't understand that because I came from New Orleans. And so I said, there were two women behind me in line, and they asked them for 2 picture IDs and then another ID, and they were giving them trouble. And they said, this is a gay bar. And I said, yeah, it's a gay bar, but so I left too. I really was offended by that.
Wow.
Yeah, that's icky.
It was icky. And so in New Orleans, we didn't experience that at all. We were just one big, huge, beautiful community. So with everyone.
Yep.
But anyway, L, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, LGBTI is intersex. Q is questioning or queer.
Okay.
What else?
Now we have C for curious. I think they're trying to separate Q for queer and questioning to make C into curious to kind of help make those letters a little bit more clear. There's Pan, there's Omni, there's Two-Spirit. What else?
Is BIPOC in there? I just like it.
BIPOC.
Yeah.
BIPOC is
You don't
Black
know what
Indigenous
BIPOC
People
is?
of Color.
Oh, okay. I'm like, what?
I have never heard it said BIPOC until you started pronouncing it that way. I always pronounce it by POC because then I like to think that it's like bisexual people of color.
I got you.
Hey, I mean,
I just think of
that's
Tupac.
interesting. Tupac.
Because bi, two.
But we do have the L as lesbian, right? And so you have a person who identifies as a woman who loves another person who identifies as a woman.
Sure.
And they're together and they love each other. And then you have gay, which is a person who identifies as a man, another person who identifies as a man. They love each other. And there's a lot of kind of lesbians very much specific to two women together. But gay tends to be much more of an umbrella term. I see a lot of
Right.
people.
I have noticed that, yeah.
I'm super gay, right? And all of that, and it's much more of a reclamation of that word too, and it's just become this call of pride to.
Sure.
And then we have bi, which is you're attracted to two genders, whatever those two genders are. If you're attracted to people who identify as men, or you are attracted to trans people, or you're attracted to non-binary people and people who identify as women, but you're bi, meaning binary, meaning two, you're attracted to two genders, whatever those two genders are for you. Trans, meaning that you don't identify with the gender that you were assigned. The opposite of trans is cis, C-I-S,
Cis,
which...
yeah.
Cisgendered means that you do identify as the gender that you were assigned. So if you were raised as a girl and you identify as a girl, then you're cis.
Okay.
And so that's just the opposite of trans.
Okay.
Not that it's in
Because that
the acronym.
was a new term, I think, that we were, at least I was exposed to after we had our first podcast. So that's really good that you brought it up, because that was not one that we discussed or even acknowledged.
Yep. And it's not cis people aren't necessarily part of the queer spectrum. I mean, gender and sexuality are different.
Yes.
Right? But just to be able to, if we're looking at spectrums, one side of the spectrum would be trans, and then the other side of that spectrum would be cis.
Gotcha.
So that we can conceptualize that a little bit better.
Okay.
And then, like Chris said, we have Q, which can stand for queer or questioning. Questioning meaning, what am I? Who am I?
Yet, yeah.
I don't know yet, and that's
Still
okay.
figuring
There's
it
room
out.
for that. Yeah.
And then queer meaning anything that's not straight, and however, whatever that means for you.
Right.
Yeah.
You know.
I see myself as being part of the queer community.
Okay.
But I am gay.
Okay.
I am in a gay relationship, and I've lived my life as gay for 30, 40 years.
Gotcha.
But I'm part of the queer community. And that
Gotcha.
queer community is relatively new. I would say like 10 years.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about this last time. Queer for me was derogatory.
Yes.
And I had a hard time bringing that into myself and
Right.
being okay with someone saying, with allies or anyone identifying me as queer, I had a little thing with it.
Right.
But kids do it, and so I figured it's got to go with the flow.
It's not. They're not.
It's not.
Not
It's
not
not
being
derogatory.
derogatory at any. And that's, I think, language is so interesting because it can be so fluid, and then old terms. It's almost like clothing. The old stuff comes back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Everything
And
works
Like
in
the
cycles.
disability community, right? Like disability rights started with person first language, and
Yep.
we've evolved to having identity first language.
Right.
And the same thing within
sorry.
the queer community. And I personally, and I think we talked about this last time, I experienced a lot of isolation and biphobia back when I identified as bi in college, and I really didn't feel a home in the gay community. And then towards the end of my college years, which is about 10 years ago, when queer community started coming about, and that's really where I found my place.
Sure.
And felt accepted and felt like I had a community.
Right. And that makes sense. And, with the disability community, for a long time, everybody used the handicapped word. Mm-hmm. And then we're like, that doesn't feel right. It's really not, and especially when you look at the origin of that word and how it came about.
Give it to the listeners.
All right, if you really want to know.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm interested.
So the origin of the word handicap actually started back in, I believe it's the Victorian era, when individuals with disabilities were not allowed to work. They were not allowed to go earn money. They were not allowed to work in any kind of field at all.
Not allowed to be part of society.
Yeah, they were ostracized, but they still had to eat. They still had to clothe themselves. They still had to have fire for the furnace to keep them warm. So what they did was they took the caps that they had on their head, took them off, and put them in their hand and begged for money.
Oh, my
Handicapped.
Yep.
That cap was very handy.
Yep, it sure was. Yeah. But then you look at, it just became like the N word.
Derogatory.
Very derogatory.
Mm-hmm.
The R word is not a word that we ever want to use within our disability community, ever.
It's not been reclaimed.
No, and I don't believe it ever will. If
No.
it comes back, I will be shocked.
Ew, no.
Hopefully it'll happen after I'm dead.
It'll come back.
Ugh.
Guaranteed.
Really?
And
Guaranteed.
I'll hopefully be vomiting on command by that time.
You're still working on that.
I am.
Yes. And so, language is fluid, but I also think that we're also becoming more informed about the origins of words and really how harmful words can be to someone's ability to develop into their best person, or even be able to contribute to society when they have their point of view finally heard. And so, we've also been doing a lot of research and work in suicide prevention, and pronouns are so vital to the disability community, the queer community, because once you start acknowledging someone and how they identify, all of a sudden there is, what is a 60% chance?
It's 70%.
70%.
It's a 70%
chance.
reduction in suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
If we respect people's pronouns and identities.
Because you recognize them.
Yeah,
You
they're
recognize them.
seen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And which is so important, because if you allow someone to be seen and heard and contribute, then we're better for it.
And also, then you're not constantly being called something that you don't want to be. If you are identifying one way and people continue to assume your gender and call you that, but that has always been a source of a lot of dysphoria for you, and people continue to remind you of that on a daily basis, even just trying to access bathrooms, right? You're going to be constantly reminded of, oh, the fact that I don't feel comfortable in my body, I don't match my body, and it's this constant reminder, and that is very grating on your mental health.
Right.
And so it's not that queer people have a much higher rate of suicide because of being queer, but it's the way that queer people are treated by society that creates those that mental health problem.
Right. Yep, so true.
Interesting.
Yeah. You learned something, didn't you?
Yeah. I'm just, every time we have this conversation, it just goes back to, I can just see the correlation and the intersection of the LGBTQ plus community, the disabled community, and the minority community, and how it's very much so similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I see the strength in the LGBTQ plus community, where they don't just talk about the issue of not being identified as the individual that they want to be, but doing something about it.
Right.
And that's the power. So I take a lot of your stuff and try to implement it into the African American, Black, whatever they would. We need to create a spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
As far as what you want to be identified. But I take a lot from you guys when I speak to you and take it back to my community. Like, hey, we need to do something. Like, we need to just stop talking about this and really, if we're going to say, no, I don't want to be called Black, we need to come with an alternative. You know?
Right.
And that's what I see in the LGBTQ community. No, you don't call me this, call me that. You know, it's not just, I'm mad because you called me this. You know?
Right.
So, yeah, I see a lot of similarities, and I'm learning a lot.
Yeah. It's a great conversation to have. And
it's important to recognize that most of our leaders are Black and brown queer people of color, right?
Yeah.
And if you look into and study disability justice is all about recognizing and uplifting Black and brown, queer, disabled people. It's really looking at those intersections and who is the most marginalized and most impacted, and uplifting those people so that they can lead because they understand how to navigate these systems because they live in them.
right. Exactly.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So we left off with Q, I think.
Q,
So-
queer questioning, LGBTQI, intersex. So intersex means that, and so again, we have a very binary society, and
Yes, we do.
everything is on a binary, even abled versus disabled,
Yes.
right? Black versus white. We have this tendency to binary everything. But so anyways, biological sex is our genetics and our physical anatomy.
Right.
And so when babies are born, we tend to think of biological sex on a binary system, that there's either a penis or a vagina, and then therefore we gender people based off of that.
Right.
But in actuality, and this happens to about 4% of the population, which to conceptualize that's the same amount of people that are born with red hair. So intersex people exist at the same proportion as people with red hair. So we need to recognize and respect intersex people. But so intersex people do not exist on the binary. There is not a clear anatomy that you can assign biological sex to intersex people.
Okay.
Their genetics exist in different ways. There's not just XX and XY. There's multiples of different ways that can happen, and then the phenotype, which is the physical anatomy, can look a multitude of different ways.
Gotcha.
And so it exists, biological sex exists on a spectrum, all the way from a penis to a vagina being the ends, and then everything else in between. And
Gotcha.
that's intersex people.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Mind blowing.
Yeah. That is really interesting.
And so if we think of biological sex as existing on the spectrum and biological sex being your physical body, then gender is what's on top of that, right? Gender is the outward expression, which also exists on a binary.
Right.
In our society, from man to woman.
Pink and blue.
Right, but actuality,
very assigned.
it also, gender itself exists on a spectrum, and people can identify anywhere within
Right.
that spectrum as well.
Right. Exactly.
Man,
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then sexuality on top of that, right? So we start with the body, to our expression, to who we're attracted to,
Right.
and then sexuality also exists on a spectrum, right? Some people are clearly attracted to one type of body that is on either end of the spectrum, and some people are attracted to specific parts of the spectrum, and some people are attracted to the entire spectrum.
Right. And that would be pan.
Yes, pansexuality is you're attracted to the entire spectrum of humanity.
And that's how you identify.
Yep, that's me.
Yeah.
So what is the difference between pan and omni?
They're basically the same.
Okay.
Okay. Is it just
Omni is the more recent term, so I see a
Okay.
lot more of the current college students age
Yep.
using Omni.
Okay.
And I'm not sure why it came about, but Pan came about 10 years ago, which is when I found it. I previously identified as bi, and then as soon as I found Pan, I was like, that's me, because I don't just see man or woman, but the entire spectrum of gender, and trans people are beautiful, non-binary people are beautiful, all of that. And so when I found Pan, I was like, that's me. And Omni is just the newer version of it.
Okay.
So, as I rub my face,
I know, it's like all this information
yeah, this is
all
a
at
lot.
once.
This is how people feel when we talk about disability.
Yeah.
So when I hear it, I just hear like, this is very complicated. It's very complex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yet very simple.
Yeah.
In the sense of, if it's not for you, don't judge the other people that it's for. What was the saying? Don't yuck my yum?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, so, like, to our listeners, like, if you don't identify with anything on this spectrum, that's fine.
Right.
You know, and nobody's going to judge you because you don't identify with it.
And nobody's saying you have to.
Right. Just allow others to explore
Exactly.
their lives.
Right.
And the world will be a happier place. If
Right.
we take the judgment that we put onto others upon ourselves, then maybe this world will be a better place.
And that's something I so love about you, Daniel, is that, like, oh, that's different than me, but that's still cool.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
what you eat don't make me eat. Like, hey, well, you know, what you choose to do
Yeah.
doesn't affect me.
Right.
You
Yep.
know, until it affects me.
Right.
You know?
And generally, it will never affect you. So why are we even?
Why are we tripping?
Yeah.
What are we afraid
That.
of?
Exactly.
Allowing people to be themselves?
Yeah.
Are we
And
just going to...
they just don't fall in line with what we believe is in within our world is acceptable or you know, black and white.
Right.
And that's what becomes so harmful is especially
I'm black and white.
There you go.
And not because I'm mixed, it's because my skin is brown and my hands are Caucasian. I'm just saying.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Probably the bottom of your feet are white too, huh?
Depends if I had socks on or
So
Gross.
The whole
I
spectrum.
know. I just don't even want to know. But you know what I was thinking about before you interrupted me with your whole spiel about I'm black and white, 'cause my hands are white, is that when we're assigning our judgment on someone and our perspective on someone, then we miss out on what type of person or what they have to contribute to us.
Yeah.
And it's really about a person being seen as a person and what that person can provide to us or what we can provide to them in the human experience. And that's just it.
Yes.
What really surprises me is then we start throwing up these judgments or these assumptions, or we allow our own biases to cloud our
Right.
perspectives. And, you know, there's a word that we use a lot in advocacy is in peer support is unpacking. So you have to unpack all of that stuff within your judgment suitcase and figure out why you have this bias.
Yes.
And what's the reason for it?
Yep.
Is it because you were treated badly by someone who identifies within this community and that's why you have this judgment? It's because that person was nasty to you, not because of their sexuality, just because they're probably not a nice person.
Right.
And there's not nice people in every single
Yes.
identity
Oh,
that
yeah.
exists.
Exactly.
Yes.
Believe
But there's
that.
wonderful people in every single identity that
Right.
exists.
And so going to that, I have a personal story about that. I had met someone in a previous job that I really, really liked. He was a great human being and I worked with them as a partner in a different agency. And we worked really well together. He was I learned so much from him, and he learned a lot from me, and he identified as gay. And then he asked me to come work for him. And I was like, wow, this is going to be a great partnership. We work so well together. But then when I became his employee, he was a completely different person. Like, he treated his staff much differently than he treated his partners, in a very bad way.
Oh, wow.
And so I was stunned by that, because this is not the person that I worked with for, a number of years. And so I'm like, wow, I need to figure out how I feel about this person. And so then when I moved from that employment and started kind of figuring out my own path and what I wanted to do differently in my work life, I came to the Independence Center. And what a mind-blowing experience, because I was never in a community that recognized me as a disabled person, ever. I was such an able passing person in my previous life, that coming to a community that was like, oh, you have a disability? That's actually a disability, and that's okay. Yeah. That's number one. Then number two, I met Chris. And Chris was able to, whether you know this or not, and you're going to know now, really give me a good representation of someone who identifies as gay and is not treating me badly.
Oh my gosh.
That was such a mind-blowing experience for me, because the individual that treated me so badly was, he was out, and
flamboyant,
beyond.
He was popping.
Yes, literally. But he also used his sexuality as a weapon.
Aye.
And I'm gay, and if you fire me, I'm going to sue you. Stuff like that. Or
like that.
You treat me like this because I'm gay, and I'm like, first of all, you're just a bad person. And it took me a long time to kind of separate the bad person from identifying him as a gay person.
Right, and that's human nature, and that's a defense mechanism,
Yes.
right? Our brains, still in that animalistic sense of identifying what is a threat to us.
Right.
If a specific type of person is causing you harm, your brain is going to make this assumption that
Yes.
everyone of that type of person is going to cause me harm.
Right.
Man.
And it's really hard for us to try and unpack that bias, because it's very inherent to our nature to be like, oh, okay, this is danger, and I'm going to avoid that.
Right.
Can we
Exactly.
just throw this out here, just for my community? That's kind of how we feel about white people in America. Just
absolutely.
throwing it out there. It's such a history of trauma
Absolutely.
that it's
Yes.
so
Absolutely.
hard to build those relationships.
You're a white chick. I don't care who you
how
are,
did-
but I've been
even-
treated badly by white people,
Right.
so I'm
Yeah.
going to automatically assume that you are going to be bad to me.
Even when it comes down to choosing relationships that I would be in, it is
Yeah.
difficult for me. I'm like, well, how do I approach a white woman?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Without them somehow throwing, I've been assaulted by this person.
Right,
Right.
or
Yeah.
what will they assume?
Yeah.
What are they thinking?
Yeah.
Right.
Do they see me and, oh crap, I'm wearing a hoodie. Do I fit
Yeah.
the description today?
Right.
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 It's so hard,
So
like you were saying,
fair.
to get rid
Yeah.
Yep.
of those assumptions. But I can tell everyone, to all of our listeners, the moment that you do, you feel free.
Yeah.
Yes.
You feel so free. And
But
you
it's
feel,
especially more difficult when you throw in power dynamics, especially
Yeah.
around
Oh, yeah.
whiteness, and the fact that all white people and all white passing people still do benefit from these systems,
Yes.
and all straight people still benefit from these systems, all abled people. And so, as much as when we take those stereotypes on about marginalized identities, it's important and valid to recognize that people who exist in the privileged identities do still benefit from those systems, and
Yes.
and it creates a lot of fear in the
Yes.
people who are experiencing
Resentment
the
as well.
oppression.
Yeah.
a lot of resentment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of
absolutely.
pain. Yep.
And then there's a lot of apprehension for when doors do get open. So I was listening to a podcast earlier this week about a celebrity who at first didn't quite understand who he was. He didn't he knew he was different, air quotes. because he didn't see himself represented in the media or in shows. So that comes back to something that you guys had mentioned last time about I didn't see anybody that looked like me or or represented my community.
Yeah.
Left like
media.
me, talked like me, walked like
Exactly.
me.
Right.
And so he didn't know how to act. So he had a girlfriend, but he never kissed that girlfriend because he just was like, that just doesn't seem natural to me. Like, I don't want to do that. But society is telling me I need to have this person on my arm. And then he finally found a community within a gay bar that he started going to. But because he was a star, he was recognized. And he was told, if you're seen here, you're going to lose your career. And so then he stopped going because someone recognized him. And then, and I was like, he finally found a community, but then that community, whether or not they were intentionally trying to harm him by saying, we're going to out you, so stop coming, or they were trying to protect them and say, this could happen to you. He couldn't distinguish between the two. And so he just stopped going and then kept everything quiet. He finally, found his boyfriend, then husband. But the point of when I started this conversation was when California finally passed Proposition 8, where it allowed, gay marriage to finally go through. And he was like one of the first stars that got his marriage license. And the freedom from that, just when he was talking about his path. And then when he finally said, well, I was able to finally be myself and I was able to get married, like his tone of voice changed. It was amazing. And it just surprises me that at first when Proposition 8 was finally passed, but then there was all these challenges and within the state, people were still like, is it good? Is it not good? Can we go get our license? Can we not? And they were still apprehensive about, finally getting married because they didn't know if their marriage was going to be acknowledged after all of the court fights. And so you get this freedom, but you're like, is it really true? Mm-hmm. Should I really trust this or not?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because then you're
I
still
know.
benefiting from a system.
Yeah.
A system that's harmed you.
Mm-hmm. And you're just like, I don't know. I'm not sure if I really want to go down that road. Mm-hmm. But, man, I learned a lot from that podcast. It was, like, mind-blowing to me.
Did you know that at one point in time it was illegal for slaves to marry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
See what happened with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was illegal for black and white people to get married.
Yep.
See what happened with that.
Fairly recently.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
In
just
like
amazing.
our grandparents' lifetimes,
Mm-hmm.
that was
Yeah.
that was a thing.
Yeah.
So we've had marriage
Ridiculous.
equality for the gay community, the queer community, for about 4.5 years.
Federally, right?
Federally.
Yeah, federally.
And so we are not we were not the first. Like we sometimes kids often think we're the first ones. Well, we weren't.
No, not so much.
But along with that, one of the things I want to talk about is the medical community and
Yeah.
how we don't usually. I know. When I came to Colorado Springs, I searched for the Pikes Peak Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and I called that organization that existed then. It doesn't exist now. And I asked, are there any queer-friendly or gay-friendly doctors? Mm-hmm. And they didn't know. Now there's all kinds of stuff out there.
Sure.
So, but I was very lucky. I found one. She just retired. Her name was Dr. Linda Silvera. And I've been able to have her as my doctor until recently, like October of this year, all the way from 1997.
Oh,
Wow.
And so all my insurance that I've had have let me keep her. She worked for DaVita, and then before that it was whatever it was.
Colorado
before.
Springs Health Partners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, and I wanted to tell that doctor that I was first visit that I was gay, and I had a partner, and I needed the care that a gay man needs to have.
Sure.
And so, however, depending on where you are in the country, it sometimes takes up to five visits before you trust that doctor enough
Yeah.
to tell the doctor that you are queer, whatever you are. And so lesbians and trans people have an issue that they don't often have health checks because they're afraid of what the doctor's going to say or do. They're afraid of being treated.
The judgment is real.
So that's the stigma.
Yeah.
So I want to say the stigma still exists in this country, and but not so much as it was.
Sure.
And so I know that lesbians don't get mammograms. They don't get the female
the pap
check.
smears, yeah.
Yes. And trans women also don't, because they're just afraid.
And there's
Yeah.
a lot of medical misunderstandings of trans women and trans men and just gender nonconforming people and what their medical care needs to look like. And they still get misgendered by the system constantly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of violence against trans and gender nonconforming people by the medical community.
Yeah.
However, there's good news that medical schools, everything, are teaching a track on LGBT, but they only know what they know.
Right.
And
And who's teaching that? Is it queer people teaching it?
mostly, yes. They're
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
As it should be.
Yeah.
Yes, it should be, because it's going to be difficult to have a cis male,
Right.
straight
Yeah.
male to teach how do you take care of trans people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that the systems are still super hard for any trans and gender nonconforming person who is wanting to have any type of medical transitioning. I have a friend who is currently in the process of trying to get several different types of medical transition surgeries, and the hoops that this friend has to jump through and the type of self-deprecation that they have to put on the table to be able to qualify for these surgeries is just absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, I've heard that. And maybe we need to get someone in who has gone through the transition surgery to kind of talk about that.
Yeah.
But, of course, there's those horror stories of I've heard, or this is what, a friend of a friend told me about. But, it's just not a safe space to go, okay, I need this because I need my outside to reflect what I feel inside.
Yep.
And a lot of it's like, well, why do you feel you don't match your body? And there's all this psychological examination, and you have to be
And
very
disclosing
yeah.
of like your most intimate traumas
Yes.
that you have to do just to be able to get the medical care that you
Yes.
need.
It is just shocking to me.
Yeah.
And sad.
My question would be, because I'm all about solutions, is why don't we have a call for action? There's a lot of funding in the LGBTQ community. Why aren't we building our own hospitals? Like, why are
This.
we waiting for a seat at the table when we can just
Yeah.
create our own table?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, there are lots of people who are working on these things. But again, these systems are built and put in place, and
Right.
it's really hard to get that seat at the table, and then it's really hard to even get the materials to build your own table.
Yeah. Do you know, well, I'm sure you do, change starts in somebody's basement.
Yeah.
You know? Even if it's, you keep it as sanitary as possible, whatever.
But like Chris
But
was saying, there's a
that's how
lot
it goes, man.
of cross inter-community, I guess. It's not really cross community anymore. We're all the queer community, but inter-community solidarity and people who are doing things under the table and
Right.
supporting each other.
Yeah.
People who are able to get hormone replacement therapy, HRT, and are able to then help other people be able to get that and passing it along to other people. So there are people who are working on it, but it's not in the visible system, right? Because
Exactly.
it can't be.
It's an underground river.
Yes,
which
absolutely.
creates the change.
Yes.
It's really another intersection. It's amazing how persons with disabilities, depending on your disability, how difficult it is for you to get to a doctor or one to disclose what's happening within your invisible disability so you can get the care you need.
Yeah.
I mean, the parallels is just
amazing, right?
And we've worked on a couple of different medical advocacy issues with making sure that within our disability community here in Colorado Springs has what they like, the equipment that they need in order to do really quality checks. So getting your weight.
Right.
If you're in a wheelchair and you're not comfortable being transferred onto a table, or you can't get yourself onto a scale to get a good weight, then especially with individuals with diabetes, that weight is important. And if you have maybe a thyroid condition and that weight is important to be tracked, and you're not able to get weighed properly, that can really impact your life, your longevity, your
People have died because of it.
yeah. And so really understanding the education piece with providers, you know, and then finding the money. So the IC fund that we set aside $75,000 every year out of our budget to find ways to impact the medical community, so that persons with disabilities have the same access. Of course, it's not equal, because if that was the case, then every provider would have these accessible exam tables. They would have loop systems, or, you know, a never-ending pot of money for interpreters.
Yes.
You know,
Or large print intake packets.
exactly.
For everything.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Just really understanding the impact. But then, of course, disability is a spectrum, and to try to find the best. There's never one size fits all for every disability.
And we even have stuff that some of our needs conflict with each other.
Yes, exactly. And so really understanding how you can provide access. And of course, it will never be equal unless everything is built for everybody, which is really difficult because of the amount of disabilities that are represented in the world. But really looking at how it can be as accessible as possible within our community. And so maybe we look at trying to create a fund for access for the LGBTQ plus community. What does that look like, and how do we provide providers with that?
Yeah.
You know, it's so vital. Because you don't get the health care you need, you're going to suffer, and then also likely pass on something that you don't want to a partner, not take care of yourself personally. So you're going to die prematurely. I mean, there's just so many things that we can hopefully alleviate.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So a little over 5 years ago, I had a stroke, and that is something I consider an invisible disability, because you can't look at me
Right.
and see.
Well, that's TBI.
And so there's TBI and there's ABI, acquired brain injury.
Yeah.
But it falls under TBI if you.
You got to love the brain spectrum,
doesn't
the
matter.
brain disability spectrum.
And so to this day, in fact, right now, I'm having some trouble finding words, thinking about what I'm going to say and
Sure.
being able to express it. Although I'm much better than I was, 5 years ago.
Right.
5 years ago, I was not able to communicate. And so I thought my life was over. Anyway, I went into the hospital, and my partner wanted to be in the hospital room with me.
Right.
And I told the nurse, as best I could, that she asked me, she asked me if he's my husband. And I said, we're not able to be married then. We were able to be civil unioned.
Because this was 5 years ago.
Yeah, 5 years ago. And so I said, he's my partner. And I blessed that woman, because if it weren't for her letting him in the room with me when I was alone and really scared and didn't know what was going on with me, I would have been traumatized much worse than I had been because of the injury. So I just want to say that we do have, and this was at a hospital here in Colorado Springs. So there are people that will skirt the laws or skirt the rules, but I just don't. I don't think you have to be married.
No.
He wasn't related to me at all.
No.
I could have said he was my brother.
Right.
But I
they'll
didn't want to
happily
lie.
let you in, but
I didn't want to lie.
right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Well, the expectation of marriage is a whole other systemic problem.
A whole nother
That's a whole
episode.
other episode of this
Yeah.
conversation.
So we've talked about marriage, and we kind of waffle back and forth.
Sure.
And so we've been together for 10 years, and he has a daughter that that I've been blessed to have in my life.
Yeah.
And it's me, because of my age, because of my generation. When I was coming up and gay, I didn't entertain the idea that I could be a father, that I could ever be married.
Right.
And then all this has happened in my lifetime. And it is shocking to me. So a little bit about privilege. So I'm white. I was born in New Orleans. I'm white. I am cisgendered, which means my physical body matches what I think I am. I'm male, and I think I'm male. And the invisible part of it is I don't think people can look at me and tell I'm gay. I think
I knew.
Yeah.
Whatever.
No, I did.
Yeah.
Because he's a snappy dresser,
Exactly. But that's stereotype.
which
But-
we talked about in the last episode.
Yeah, you know.
I think I have a little bit of a gay voice, and so that goes with it a little bit. But
I just assume everyone's gay. So.
yeah,
Everybody's on the spectrum, so we
You
just
won't be wrong.
and when I was
Somewhere.
younger, it was really important for me to identify: is that person gay? Is that person gay?
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, it doesn't.
I don't
like you,
care.
it doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Right.
And I assume everyone is a little bit queer.
Yeah.
It's like I think everyone has something that is. I mean, who is exactly right?
100% one or the other. It's very, I can't even imagine it.
When I was a kid, I used to watch wrestling and be like, I want those muscles.
Yeah.
For real.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I want to be this big muscular guy.
Yeah.
When I watch Denzel Washington, he's like super handsome.
Dude,
And
yes.
he's a great actor, and I'm like, I don't know. I don't think I'm gay.
But there's like some lust there. And
no lust.
Yeah, lust for the person.
You know,
and
admiration.
handsome they are.
Admiration. You can
Admiration,
appreciate
yeah.
the fact
Admiration.
that, yeah.
Lust is a very strong word.
Maybe in your world.
Okay.
When I was a kid,
Very strong
I
word.
watched Thundercats, and I was in love with Chitara. Like,
Oh.
Me too.
legitimately wanted to marry her.
Yeah, me
Yeah.
too.
She was gorgeous, and yes, I realize
cat
she's a
suit.
cartoon, but she was a hot cartoon,
That
okay?
cat suit was amazing. Where is she at, Shatara, if you out there?
Oh my god,
You need to
she's
holler at
fire.
me.
So
I just
as
had
I've
an
gotten older,
Aquaman
it's
moment.
become less important for me to try to figure out what everyone is.
Right.
But what I see now is that we're people. We're just everyone is who we are, and we
Yeah.
have to be accepted for who we are.
Yes.
And I don't know. It's also I live in a vortex of I surround myself with people that are like me. But I do get out there in other communities,
Right.
and I have yet to experience someone who's outwardly prejudiced. Since I moved from New Orleans, I'll say that.
Oh, wow.
Maybe they are quiet about it. Maybe they do it. They're more insidious about it, like it's under the table, and it's not so obvious like it was in New Orleans when I was there.
And I think I know for myself at least, the louder I get about who I am and the more proud, the less I see the outright bigotry, because I don't care about it. I'm too busy being awesome. You know, I'm too busy loving queer people. I'm too busy loving deaf and disabled people. And so I don't even see as much of that, like, in your face
Yes.
meanness anymore, because I'm just like, I'm just gonna go love all my deaf queers over here, okay?
Right.
You know?
And sometimes it also helps you kind of like close your sight of all that negativity when you're surrounding yourself with that positivity or the individuals that are like you, and because they're safe. And it's also kind of like your armor.
Yeah.
And you can still see and experience that negativity, but the damage is not as prevalent because you're like, I have my people around me, and it does make sense. And then going back to, because I am I'm in my world and I don't see the negativity, it also shuts it down many times.
And me being and that's why I know you said that when I first came to the IC, you were kind of stunned at how, like, vocal I was about using the word queer and identifying as queer, and that, like, it, and being proud to be deaf and being proud to be Jewish. The louder I get in my identities, the less I can hear other people, right? Not only because I'm deaf, but also just because I'm louder about it and happy in it, and it literally silences the hate.
Yeah, it really does. It's surprising.
I gotta figure that out.
Yeah,
That's pretty enlightening.
yeah, because it's amazing to kind of watch someone shut down the negativity that they're projecting on you. It's easier when you're just not responding to it, and you're like, I'm in this groove, I'm in this thought process, And you can own that all you want, or you don't have to own it, but it's not going to impact me anymore.
It's a struggle.
Yeah.
I think it matters where you are in your life to be able to do that.
Yeah.
There's an organization in town called Inside Out Youth Services, and when you're younger, it matters.
Oh my God, those gabies are so beautiful. I
call
love them.
gabies. It's like babies, but gay.
They're so gay, and they're
gay
so
babies?
beautiful. I love them.
Wait,
they
not
give me
babies-
hope.
Babies that are produced by individuals that are gay, or babies that are born and identify as gay.
They're our queer youth.
Queer youth.
Queer youth.
Oh,
You totally threw him off like,
yeah, I was like, what is a gaby?
Our baby queers, our baby gays.
That's what I call Gabe at our job.
with all the energy of
They're
that
so
they're going to go
beautiful,
change the world.
though. Me, Rebecca,
They're
and I went
inspirational.
and presented to them, and oh my gosh. I texted you, Becca, after we presented to them, and I was just like, I have hope for the future, because they are so, like, they know themselves at 12 and 13 better than I know myself at 30. And they're like, yeah, we call people out on saying that's so gay. And yes, we say this to them. And these are my pronouns. And I'm gay and I'm proud. And I was like, oh my God, I need this.
So I'll tell you a story. When I came here in 1997, I looked for a place to volunteer. I looked for the Pikes Peak Gay and Lesbian Community Center, and I looked for Inside Out Youth Services. And my partner and I were the first 2 male facilitators for that group.
Wow.
And there were 2 women that ran it, and Regina DiPadova was one of them. And so she asked me a lot of questions about, why do you want to be around youth? She was doing her job. So they were very different people.
Really?
18 years ago, they
Yeah.
were very different people. They were, for lack of a better word, beat down.
Yeah.
This community was coming off of Amendment 2 in 1992, I think. And when I moved here, I was like chided. I was told, why do you want to move to Colorado Springs, the center of the hate state?
I was told that moving here
Yeah.
6 years ago.
And so I came here anyway, and I wanted to do whatever I could to make a difference. And it was a totally different community back then among the youth. And those kids were, a lot of them are homeless. We still see homeless youth.
Oh, yeah.
But they're not quite as empowered or empowered by their peers.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see it now.
Well, and that would have been the time that I was growing up. And I grew up in the Bay Area in California in a very Mexican community. I was the only Jewish kid at my school, and I was hard of hearing at the time, and gay was not even talked about at all. And from San Jose, California, we moved to Auburn, which is a very, very conservative area. It's actually the most Republican part of the state in Placer County. And then we moved into Minden, Nevada, which is a very rural, conservative area. And I had no people to, and we didn't have representation at that time.
Right.
And there was no one talking about this. There was no sense of pride yet to the community. And I remember my mom asking me if I was gay several times, I think like every year in high school, and me being like, I don't know. No, I don't know. Right. And like defensive about it, because you didn't even have language at that time.
Right.
There wasn't even the pride and love language yet.
Yeah.
And I came out to my mother 2 years ago. And the way I came out to my mom was I actually just texted her, and I was like, I'm not straight, right? And she was like, but I asked you.
I asked to understand, and you
And
said
now
no.
I'm confused. And I was like, well, yeah, but in high school, that was,
Confusing time.
that was before queer community existed.
Yeah.
And we lived in Minden, Nevada, and Auburn, California, which were very Republican areas, and I was just dealing with trying to get through school as a Jewish kid, as the only Jewish kid, and experiencing a lot of hate from that. I had a progressive hearing loss, so my hearing loss constantly going. So I was just trying to deal with those things, let alone like, who do I love? I don't know yet. And so like now, and I see that change, and that was the time that I was growing up, and there wasn't queer community resources. There wasn't any sort of pride in it. There was nothing even to have language to understand who you were at that time.
Yeah.
If you weren't just, gay or straight, again, that binary existed. And now we have much more of a spectrum understanding. But I see the kids and I'm like, I wish I had something like that when I was middle school, high school, to really understand myself. I got involved in the gay community and then the queer community in college. But middle school and high school, there wasn't anything. And there was very much just sadness and darkness around that when I was in my formative years.
Wow.
So it's beautiful to see that change.
It is. It's really
happened so fast.
hopeful, like you said.
Yes. It gives me hope. It gives
Yeah.
me hope.
And then those leaders that you were able to present to are going to then carry the message forward and allow evolution to happen in the community and then growth. And that's the exciting part, is that even our young disabled leaders are like, I'm not putting up with this.
Right.
I'm going to, I want to understand my disability and then how to advocate for myself. And that's like really cool to see our youth involved at the IC, because they're able to have words to identify, their disability and also then advocate for themselves. And then we're teaching parents that, you have to let your children understand themselves and understand their disability, and don't do that helicopter parent thing and or the mower parent, which I learned, where you just mow down everything in their path so it's not difficult.
To make it smooth, yeah.
Yeah. And so how do you learn from the difficulty? But you can always foster really strong relationships with your children, and they can come and talk to you about their difficulties and have that support. But removing that difficulty doesn't build character, and it doesn't allow them to develop.
Well, and the difficult thing in parent relationships with disabled children and queer children is that for most people, disability and queerness are not vertical cultures. They're not handed down from your parents. They're horizontal cultures. You learn them from your peers. And if you don't have any of those peers around you to give you that positive part of it, all you hear is the negative side.
Right.
Man, that's deep. I'm just saying.
It's so true. It is so true. And
I've met people here that have not had their children or them have not had interaction with people of color, and the only interaction they have had is through television.
Yep.
What?
Yeah. In Colorado
Here,
Springs.
in
Yeah.
Colorado
What?
Springs,
Yes.
How is this possible?
Yeah.
That's what I said.
This isn't even that white of a town.
But check this out. It's
It
like
was
that
when I was
across
younger.
America, middle America, where there's low populations of people of color. That's
Yeah.
just the way it is.
Oh my
And that's why you
gosh.
see the results of it, where they assume that every black man listens to rap music.
Yeah.
Or they assume that we all use
Right.
the colloquialisms and things and everything. They have to approach us with "what's up" instead of "hello."
Yeah.
You know, and that's
because interaction is what humanizes people, and humanization is what gets rid of that hate.
yeah.
Yep. And then when you
Interesting.
represent it on TV and that's all your
Right.
access,
Right.
Right.
then of course, you're going to think that I just need to go up to Daniel and try to do this hand.
Like the hand.
Hand-
You don't have to
slap
give me
hand
dap.
gesture thing or whatever.
And shake my hand.
Yeah.
I'm confused by
Sorry,
the DAP thing.
Dap.
It just
used
looks
to
like a
come from
Heil
giving
Hitler
people
to
a
me.
Pound, where you pound your fist together.
Oh no, that one, the one where the kids do this thing.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, are you?
that's a dab.
yeah.
That's not dab.
See, who even knows? I'm just like, are you guys like saluting Hitler or something? I'm super confused
It's a
by
dance
it.
move.
Hiding your face.
Yeah, there's this hiding.
So it came from people
weird.
dabbing and coughing, and they
Yeah.
cough like this. So it became a dance
Oh,
move.
see, I had no
Yeah.
idea.
Oh my gosh.
Whoa,
I know.
who
It's a
knew?
dab.
So that's a dab is
Yeah.
different than a what?
Dap. A dap is like a greeting, like a handshake. It's a greeting
the-
or a salutation of sorts.
Yeah.
Where I can give you a pound, where our fists are on top of each other. Boom,
and you're-
boom. Fist bump.
Yeah.
Let it go. That's that.
Thank you for educating me,
Yeah,
Daniel.
then you got the bro hug, and you slap hands and then bring it in for a hug, pat on the back. It's the bro hug.
All these things I never knew.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is my spectrum.
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't you just shake hands and hug?
It's not cool. We have flavor to the. Black people are the flavor of America. We are the paprika
Yeah.
of this big bowl of potato salad. We have color and spice.
Yes, that's so true.
Absolutely.
It
But
makes
all
me
different
homesick.
people.
I'm homesick for New Orleans.
Yeah, we put a little Cajun on there, baby. Just a little bit.
The
But,
little Creole, yes.
So I wanted to share this experience that I had with my son maybe last month. He was in his room playing video games. I could hear his friend talking over the little speaker. And, they were talking. And when I walked into the room, his friend completely shut down and stopped talking.
What?
And I was like, what's going on? 'Cause I usually speak to all of my son's friends.
Right.
And I was like, what's going on or whatever. And so my son put him on mute and explained to me that he had been being bullied at school. His friend had been being bullied at school and was having like a little moment and everything. And he was like, yeah, my friend's bisexual and everybody picks on him. And they go to a Christian school. Right. And he was like, everybody picks on him. And these guys had him in the corner and he was crying. So I stood up for him. And, and I was explaining to him, I was like, hey, that's great that you stood up for him. Now what we have to do is talk to your friend. And let's teach him how to stand up for himself. And teach him that he is bisexual. He identifies as bisexual and it's okay. Right. And then my son looks at me and is like, Dad, how would you feel if I was gay or bisexual? I was like, I wouldn't care, bro. Like, that is your choice. I was like, I will have my own thoughts of the women that you will bring home if you identify as straight, so let alone if you're bringing a man home. Like, it doesn't matter to me. It's about your happiness and safety, right? And his friend was listening to this while we were doing this. And his friend then went to his mother, explained everything to his mom, what had been going on, and now no longer goes to that school.
Good.
And still is friends with my son.
Wow.
Good.
But just know, like, parents, forget how you feel about people that are gay or lesbian or identify as anything on the spectrum. These are your children.
Yes.
Right? And our job as parents and as friends of parents is to make sure our children are safe and well educated and have a comfortable place to come to where they're not feeling like they don't fit in.
Right.
That they can at least come home and fit in.
Yes, exactly.
And even if we don't agree with the lifestyle, it is not our place to marginalize their growth. And it was such an opening. My son didn't even know that I wouldn't care. Like, and I was like, dude, like, you talk to me about everything.
Why would you have had that thought?
Right. But that just showed me that just because we think they know, that we appreciate them and love them and accept them for who they are, a lot of times they're not. They don't know because they're unsure of themselves.
Right.
They need that
And
verbalized.
we need to provide that safe place.
They need to hear it and feel it, not only, us walking around like, we accept everybody.
Exactly. 10 years ago, had you asked me how would I feel if my son was gay, I would have given you a totally different answer because of my upbringing and the indoctrination of gay hate.
But that's where you've unpacked that.
Truly.
Yeah.
You know what did it?
What?
So my sister came out.
Oh.
My father's a preacher, and I'm thinking, ooh, our whole family's like, ooh, this is going to
implode.
He's about to lose his. She came out at the dinner table, and he was like, 1, I already knew. 2, I still love you. And 3, God still loves you.
Yes.
That was the big piece, and we were like, hold on, wait a minute.
But wait a minute. How are you reacting like that?
Because he did it out of love.
Yeah. And that's
where, real love.
Yeah.
Danielle, that is beautiful.
Yeah.
What you just said.
So beautiful.
Amazing.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing about sexuality and sexual preference and self-identification is that it touches every family.
Oh, yeah.
No family, no color is exempt to this.
Exactly.
So that's why the change is so, big.
Yeah.
Because everybody is forced to accept the idea of the possibility that one of my children, cousins, family, my mom, my grandma might identify as gay and could not, or lesbian or whatever you want to have it, but couldn't come out, because of the stigma. And then in their older age, in this day and age, they come out and you're like, what? Okay. If my grandma's cool with it, I'm cool with it.
Yeah.
That then you also have, when you're talking about, individuals or family members coming to, I want to say terms, really understanding that your life could be impacted in such a way that someone that you love identifies on the spectrum, no matter if it's, gay, lesbian, questioning, whatever that looks like.
Black, white. Hey, I might be coming home for dinner one day to your house with your white daughter.
Yeah.
And hello.
You need to be able to go, you know what? I love that person and I need to check myself.
Yep.
Because you have this attitude that will completely demolish the person that you love and that you've invested in. And if you don't figure out how to move past it and go, you know what, my point of view is wrong, I need to fix it.
There's no rules to love.
Right.
There's no rules. There's no cookie cutter that can truly present love because it's vast and it's ever changing.
Right.
Yep. And it's different for every single
For
person.
every
Right.
person.
And then you look at the parallels again with disability when you live your life without any interaction with a disabled person, and then you can acquire a disability.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
And then now you're like, wait a minute.
Now what?
You now find access issues. And you're
Yep.
like, but they never experienced this before.
Yeah.
But people have lived their entire lives with access
Yep.
issues, but you never took the time or you didn't see
Yep.
until now it impacts you, and then it becomes this huge issue.
There are some really cool people out there with disabilities that make great partners. There
Oh,
are
yeah.
some very attractive people with disabilities. I'm not going to toot my own horn,
Disabled people are sexy.
but I'm just saying. You know, we're out here, and
Hot,
we deserve.
Daniel. You're hot.
Thank you.
Own
girl.
it.
You hot too.
Why, thank you.
Hot. We
Oh my
all up in
God.
here hot. But just know that, don't limit yourself. Because
Yep,
there's so
exactly.
many options out there. Don't limit yourself based on the way somebody presents or
Yep,
the way that somebody
exactly.
identifies. I met a pan woman that is,
I know, right?
oh my God.
I'm in love with her too.
I'm in love with her.
Oh yeah.
I am in love with the Coco because she is Coco Brown. But I'm just saying this. I never thought
Yeah.
that I would
Yeah.
appreciate a woman that can appreciate more than just a straight
Yeah.
relationship.
Right.
It was always presented as, oh man, you got to watch out because if they like multiple sexes, then they're going to cheat on you.
Yeah.
Right.
No, not
Which, and
necessarily.
that's a lot of the biphobia.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Or you
Yep.
can't have a straight man cannot have gay friends because they're going to hit on you.
Yeah.
Every gay man is not trying to hit on you. Like,
Yeah,
they don't
no.
want you. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And people get so in their head.
Because you're attracted to it, and that's the interesting part is that we all have our own desires and body types and all that stuff.
Yes.
You may not be that that gay man's cup of tea.
Exactly.
So check yourself because you're not that attractive.
Exactly.
Right.
Or you're not gay, and he respects it. Like, you're not gay, but we're friends.
Exactly.
It's that
It's
simple.
just amazing to me. People are the human mind and the human attitude is just
It's all taught.
Yeah.
It's passed down hatred. Mm-hmm. It's passed down hatred from home to churches to schools
Yeah.
to it's just generational hate
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
is being passed down. And
Yeah.
I see our country truly coming to a point where we will honor our Constitution of the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I see that happening now.
By burning down the system, right?
Yes. Yes, you didn't expect this. Look at all of our
Yeah.
gabies out here.
All the gay bees.
We will be in office one day.
Yeah.
We will
Yes.
be making the laws one day.
Yeah.
And
and
that's
the things that they'll accomplish is going to be amazing.
yes.
It's
Yes.
going
I almost started preaching up in here.
I see that in Layla. That's my partner's daughter, and she's 10. And I see an amazing little person in
Yeah.
her. And she's going to be a fantastic, well-adjusted, and exposed to everything person.
Yeah.
And when she was 4 or 5, she was talking to a friend of ours, and she said, "This is my dad's partner." And I didn't know if she knew what partner meant. She was just, that's the way we identify each other in front
Right,
of her. And now she says, "This is my dad's partner." And she knows
right.
the difference.
And the tone
she's okay.
changes.
Kids get
and
it.
The, present-
Kids get it.
the presentation
Yep.
changes because they understand that
Yep.
their words have power too,
Yep.
Yep.
and
They're
it's
so
really
accepting.
cool.
But
Yeah.
kids absolutely understand it. And for all of the teachers out there who are hesitant to include queer identities in their teaching curriculum, it's not like you have to teach whole lessons on this. But if things come up and you are talking about somebody who exists, whose parents exist in whatever type of queer relationship they're in, and you think that kids can't understand this, they absolutely can.
Oh, yeah.
Kids get this, and they will teach other people, and they will call other people when they're being harmful, and it is beautiful.
Yeah, it is
I was a teacher, and I had a student whose parents were lesbians, and she called me out one time when she was talking, and this was upper elementary, and she was making a joke about going into middle school, and I was like, yeah, if you go into middle school, you gotta be careful of all those boys, and she's like, or girls. I was like, you know what? You are absolutely right. And I apologize for saying that and
Yep.
assuming anything.
Yep.
And kids will get it.
Yeah, they
and
get
they
it.
will continue to proliferate and teach that love and positivity and all around.
Yep. Yep.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it.
It is.
All those little babies out there.
It's eye-opening. Like, I'm telling you, 10 years ago,
Yeah.
Different. Completely different. Yeah.
totally different.
And 10 years ago, I was like, I'm so confused because all these gay women are being mean.
Yeah.
And then I found queer community. So I feel you, Daniel. In 10 years, we have
You couldn't
changed
tell
a
me
lot.
that it wasn't just a choice. You
Yeah.
couldn't tell me that maybe people are just born this way. You could not tell me that. I was
Really?
like, no, you're choosing that. That's a choice. Like the same way that I choose to be with women. You know, this is a choice. But,
Even if it's a choice, what's wrong with that?
But then I talked to my freaking sister. It was like, I had no choice in this. Like, she said when she was like 5, she knew that she liked women.
Yes.
Like, she knew.
Chitara.
Like, it
All
just
about
was what it was. And she was kind of stereotypical, like great basketball player. But before she was even having sex, she knew her sexuality.
Yeah.
You know, and even my stepdaughter identifies as bisexual. And I was like, you don't even know what that is. Like, how do you know? She's like, trust me, Daniel. I know.
Yeah.
And then now, knowing that when we're watching like TV or something and something nice passes the screen and I'm like, she's like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
I gotta check how I'm gonna react now.
Yeah, but it allows me to connect with my stepdaughter on such a level, a deeper level, where it's like you're my daughter and my son. So this is really cool because I get to experience both.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's
That's
interesting.
dope.
I recently had so I came out officially to my mom 2 years ago, and this past Family Day, which is Thanksgiving in my family, I was talking with my mom, and she was saying how she was so confused when I came out because I had previously told her that I wasn't gay. And I was like, Mom, for years I've been talking about how beautiful women are in front of you. And she's like, well, yeah, but you know, I think women are beautiful too. And I thought it was just like that. I was like, Mom, I said I want to see them naked. and she's like, oh. I get it now. It was this moment of like,
The parental
Maybe your mom would've
awakening is kind of fun to watch. They're like, oh,
Yes.
yes. Yeah.
When I was 5, my mother told me that my father and she had talked about how I was a special boy because I was really different than my brother. And when I came out at 19 in 1982, you know, she kind of pushed back a little bit, and finally she said, like 2 years after I came out, she said, you know, your dad and I talked about this when you were 5. I said, why did you give me so much flack the last couple of years? Not really flack, but she, you know, was pushing back.
I just had to make sure you were sure.
Yeah. And so, yeah, she said, yeah, we had a talk about this. So moms know or they don't know.
Yeah.
Or they don't want to accept it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was a little gay boy, little
Yeah.
gaby.
See that
little gaby.
I think
Without
an
community.
important message for parents also is if you know, then change your language toward your children.
Yeah, you do have to do that.
Yeah.
And
You have to be-
Even if you
think about
don't
it.
know, change your language, right? Instead of making assumptions about who your kid's going to bring home or what their gender is, like,
Right.
hey, you tell me.
Yeah. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts? I mean, you can be so informed as a parent when you ask your children questions. And then
Definitely.
the assumptions, I know my child best. Well, you could, sure,
Their friends
but
know them best.
you don't really know unless you ask them. When they have language, then start talking to them. Because, you know, the amount of trauma that you can avoid by having a
Yes.
conversation is monumental.
About everything.
Everything.
I have so many uncomfortable conversations with my son. Yes.
I bet it's fun.
It is amazing.
How old is he, Daniel?
He's 14.
Okay.
Oh.
I remember when my daughter was 14. She was so cute.
I'm going
And
to
I
be
never
lamenting
having
her
kids.
for her 10-year-old age when she turns 13, 14, 15, and she doesn't want to have anything to do with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe she'll be different. I don't
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
Maybe.
You know.
But it's also, you know,
Day by day.
natural progression. Swing
Yeah.
away and then swing back on the
Yeah.
pendulum.
You just really embrace when they swing towards you, and you're like,
Yes.
"Yes, I'm going to enjoy this time." And then when they swing away, you're like, "You know what? I'm going to revisit those memories and how much I enjoyed it because,
Yes.
you know, those will get you through those times. I tell you what.
I'm just going to have dogs. Dogs.
Yeah, fur babies are the
cool.
best too.
Yeah.
Fur babies?
Fur babies.
Fur babies.
Gabies, fur babies.
Exactly. All these.
Just
Come
babies
on.
are adorable.
Yes, they are.
My dog is my child. And it's not illegal to put him in a crate.
No, it's not. It's actually going to save his life from eating something questionable.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, choking on something.
DHS won't come and arrest me.
Just put my baby in a crate because it saves his life and keep him
Yes.
from eating questionable things.
Yes, exactly. Your fur baby. Yes.
How big does a cage have to be in order to put your child in it? Like, what's the legal?
Never.
I don't know.
And you never put your
What's the
actual human
legal-
child in a cage.
I feel like
What?
there's people fighting against this happening at the border right now.
What is the legal limit?
Oh, we can laugh about it.
That's a whole nother conversation, too.
Hey, we should
All
be
right.
writing this down for topics.
I have them in my
Okay.
memory.
What is your stance on the Black Lives Matter movement? No,
Really?
I'm
We're
just
going to
Black
have
Lives
that
Matter.
I'm just
conversation
joking.
now?
I'm just joking.
We don't have enough time. We actually
All
have to close this one out, dude.
I don't want to.
Black,
I know.
queer,
This is such a
disabled
great-
lives matter. That's how I feel.
There we go.
There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all lives.
Just like that.
Not all lives.
I know.
Black lives.
Yeah, say it, girl.
Because
say
our
it.
lives just don't matter.
Well, the focus. That's a whole nother conversation.
We're gonna have to have another conversation
We
with
definitely-
with
So many
this and
more.
that. I mean, we just go down all these different roads, and I'm like, I had this plan for this conversation, but it turned out even better than what my plan was.
Ever
And Becca, I want to say, I like the way you point us back toward disability when we get off on whatever we're talking about.
The tangents.
She's developed
That's
this
what
skill
it's
because
about.
of our team.
Yeah. The advocacy team, we squirrel a lot, and we actually had a really funny experience this week where we had our development director come in and ask us this question. It was a very simple question, and by the time that she was done, she had like 5 pages of notes, and I had to like redirect a couple of times, and I'm like, oh.
It was
This
amazing.
must be like when someone else comes into our offices and asks us a question, because it's just like
Yes.
snowballs, and people walk out going, "What just happened?" You know.
I love going to you guys.
There's some days like my brain hurts.
We're
I
all
just-
insane.
I can't. I don't have
everybody-
more
Insane
words
here.
left
It's
for
because you
people.
all care.
Yes.
It's like you're all so passionate about the advocacy piece, and I love it. Like, I love speaking to each one of you guys as a group or individually. Like, you are all unique, and you all have your special areas where you can contribute so much knowledge and information. That is
We have
just
to bring
awesome.
out other members of the team in because
Yes.
we haven't
Everybody
talked to
except
Dale.
LB. No LB.
Oh, he's gonna come in. He
Put
hasn't
Dale
yet
and
to be-
Daniel on a podcast together.
I know.
Hey,
That may be a lot of
it won't
editing.
represent work. I'll tell you that.
Anyway, so to bring us back to close this sucker, because we can talk and talk and talk and talk.
Yes.
So we're gonna definitely do a series on this because I think that love is love, no matter what it is, and who's a part of the relationships, and I find so many parallels within our disability community and the LGBTQ plus community that it's just amazing to me. But so in order for us to move out of this topic and let's move on to something different, I think what I'm going to ask is actually like kind of a call to action for our listeners. Tell us what you guys want to hear from Elle and Chris. Ask us the questions, and maybe we do a couple of questions from our listeners, and we can just unpack whatever the heck they want to talk about.
Yeah.
And
It would be cool if we had them call in. to one of
yeah,
the
we can
work
totally
lines.
try that, or we can do like an advice column.
Ooh.
Yeah. Oh, as we go down this road. But so in order for
Queer love column.
I know. So to find more about this podcast, and actually to find the first Love is Love podcast, go to Podomatic and search for, or if you're actually listening to us on Podomatic, just search back and take a listen at that first one, and you're going to hear some parallels between that conversation and this one. You can also see the accessible caption version on YouTube. Just search Real Empowerment. And you can go on Spotify and search Real Empowerment, and you can get our podcast there. Come and visit us at our location, 729 South Tejon in Colorado Springs, and visit our website, which you can also get to our podcast webpage. That's www.theindependencenter.org or org, or www.the, what is it, dash?
You forget a W.
They know. World Wide Web. -ic.org.
Don't be hating, Daniel.
I know, right?
I just want to make sure all letters are represented properly.
And then you can also call us. Don't call Elle. We already know this. The struggle is real.
I won't answer.
Deaf girl can't talk on the phone. So email her at livengood@theindependencecenter.org.
Yeah.
And then Chris, he was going to text, I think. That was the conversation that we had last time. He was going to give out his number because text is his best communication method.
Look at Chris's
Do not
face.
want to give out my.
Just call and ask for Chris.
Chris is already taken. He can't give
I
out
know,
his number.
exactly. That would be bad. I don't want to have that conversation with his partner. Like,
Y'all
you
know
did
what their
what?
relationship status is.
He told us. He's in a relationship. Let's
Just
not do
because you're
that.
in a relationship don't mean that your partner is not okay with you talking to other people. It might be one of those situations.
Oh, my goodness.
just
Bi
saying.
does not mean poly.
It could.
They're different.
That's a whole nother conversation.
I have no idea about that stuff.
Yeah.
That's all good.
That's something you can learn.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you can email me
Yes.
at crobertson, ROBERTSON, at the-ic.org.
There you go. And ask him all the good questions. All of them.
All of them.
Yes. And especially if you want to get connected to individuals that identify within your community and have tons of experience that they want to talk with you about. I promise you, they don't just talk it on a podcast. They live this
They
life.
live it.
And we don't bite unless you like that.
Elle.
Anyway, I am Rebecca Michael.
I am Daniel Ratcliffe.
Thank you so much.